December 5th, 2029, NASA Advanced Base, Kangerlussuaq, Greenland. The pilot's voice crackled over the headset as the helicopter plummeted toward the icy ground below. Time to make history, folks. History? Right. I just stared at that gray sky, heavy with ominous clouds, as if it would be the last time I'd see it. Beneath us loomed a giant pyramid, carved with such precision that it defied any human explanation, buried beneath centuries of relentless ice. A cryptic message from NASA Command broke the silence between the team members on the radio. Make sure to document every inch. That isn't just a pyramid. I was a skeptical archaeologist, here for the thrill and the paycheck, laughing to myself about NASA's conspiracy theories. Alien structures? Give me a break. But as I touched the frozen ground and saw faint lights flickering through the cracks in the ice, a chill crawled up my spine. The sound of the helicopter door shutting echoed behind me, and the icy silence enveloped us. It was impossible to ignore the weight of that structure. As we trudged through the pristine snow, something about the pyramid felt alive. When one of the scientists, Mark, shone his flashlight along the icy walls, inscriptions appeared that I'd never seen before, not even in the most obscure archaeology books. Strange lines and symbols glimmered under the light, as though whispering an ancient story. My heart pounded. I'd always thought alien tales were pure fiction, yet something in this place seemed to shatter all certainties. "James, are you all right?" one of the scientists asked, noticing my fixed gaze. I tried to smile, but the cold seemed to freeze my nerves. "I'm just a little overwhelmed." That's when everything started to unravel. A pulse, an almost imperceptible hum, pulsed through the ground beneath us. Everyone exchanged nervous glances. Mark tried to joke, "Anyone here believe in ghosts?" But no one laughed. The flashlight beams flickered, as if something was interfering with the electromagnetic field. Suddenly, the temperature seemed to drop even further, as though the very air was warning us to leave. And then we heard it. A metallic sound, reverberating through the walls, as if something was moving inside. A shiver ran down my spine. Someone muttered, voice trembling, "We shouldn't have come here." My mind raced back to the words I heard when NASA offered me the mission. "You'll be the spearhead, Braga, one of the first to explore what could be the most significant discovery in history." At the time, it sounded like another exaggeration. Now, heart pounding and that eerie sound surrounding us, I realized this mission was far beyond anything we were prepared for. That's when I saw something that made me freeze. From a crack in the ice beside the pyramid, a vaguely humanoid shape appeared, its eyes glowing a deep red, almost like embers. It had a cold, inhuman gaze, watching us with an unsettling calm. Time seemed to stand still as the creature looked directly at me, as though it knew who I was and why I was there. I forced myself to breathe, but the air felt trapped in my lungs. The being didn't move, only watched us with eyes that seemed to pierce into my soul, as if trying to decipher our presence here. Mark whispered, voice faltering. What the hell is that?" No one had an answer. For a second, a deadly silence filled the air, until the creature tilted its head, and a low, barely audible sound escaped its mouth. It was a hum, reminiscent of a digital signal, incomprehensible but laced with menace. Then, without warning, it lunged toward us with impossible speed. The impact against Mark was brutal, as if he were no more than a rag doll. Blood sprayed across the ice, and chaos erupted. I heard screams and footsteps scrambling around me. Bodies fell as we tried to escape from something that seemed unstoppable. My heart pounded like a drum as I bolted across the ice, not daring to look back, hearing my colleagues' desperate screams as they were dragged into the darkness. Logic had no place here. Science offered no explanation. I knew only that I had to survive. I veered down a narrow corridor and stumbled, nearly falling down the frozen steps. A constant hum trailed my every movement. It felt like the pyramid itself was alive, monitoring my steps, sensing my terror. With my vision blurred by adrenaline, I spotted a heavy door carved directly into the ice. I had no idea what lay beyond, but I had no choice. I shoved the door with all my strength, and it swung open with a muffled crash. The room beyond was completely different. It was a vast chamber filled with devices that made no sense. Pulsing screens with greenish lights and alien symbols covered the walls. Suspended metal platforms like operating tables hung ominously. My stomach turned at the thought of what or who might have been operated on there. Everything looked untouched, preserved by some advanced technology I could barely comprehend. I didn't have much time to process it. That hum, that low, reverberating sound grew louder. Something was moving behind me. I turned just in time to see another creature, even larger, emerging from the shadows. Unlike the first, this one had skin the color of oxidized metal, emanating a bluish glow, almost hypnotic. It raised a hand in my direction, and a light formed at its fingertips, a kind of ray charged with pure energy. My body froze, unable to move, as I watched that deadly energy concentrate. "Damn!" I yelled, throwing myself sideways, barely dodging the blast that ricocheted off the walls in a burst of sparks and ice. The ground shook, and I struggled to keep my balance as that monster approached, its steps echoing like thunder through the chamber. I ran aimlessly, desperate to escape from this icy trap that seemed designed to consume me. My steps echoed frantically down the corridors, and the hum crescendoed, enveloping everything around me. My boots crushed shards of ice and metal as I ran harder than ever, every fiber of my being gripped by utter panic. I could barely see through the flashing lights and alien alarms flickering around me, but I heard more creatures approaching. It wasn't just one or two, it was a damned horde. My legs burned, the cold slashed my face like knives, but I couldn't stop. The hum seemed synchronized with my own heartbeat, a frenetic beat amplifying, louder and louder. I turned back, only to see those red eyes, dozens of them, reflecting the pale light of the ice. There was no escape. A metal door at the end of the corridor looked like my last chance. I threw my shoulder against it, but it wouldn't budge. Desperate, I pounded it, slamming the frozen metal until my hands throbbed. Behind me, I heard the scraping sound of something against the ground, followed by a low, menacing growl. A metallic sound, like the opening of a mechanical jaw, cut through the air. Panicked, I forced the door one last time, throwing my full weight against it. It gave way with a crash, and I tumbled inside, scrambling away from the opening as I slammed the door shut behind me. That's when I saw what was on the other side. In the center of the room was a transparent capsule connected to a web of cables, with tubes glowing in intense blue. Through the capsule, I could make out a human-like figure, or something that almost looked human. The face was eerily familiar. I moved closer, feeling the cold intensify, and pressed my hand against the glass to get a better look. My eyes widened as I recognized the face inside that capsule. It was me. A flash of memories, or maybe visions, tore through my mind. Fragmented images of me entering the pyramid over and over, as if I were trapped in an endless cycle of exploration, escape, and death. Whatever that pyramid was, it wasn't just a structure. It was a machine, a portal, an eternal experiment where I was the lab rat. With my heart racing, I stared at my own frozen face in that capsule. I looked older, scarred, with the expression of someone who knew too much. Next to the capsule, a series of images flashed on an alien screen, showing records of every version of me that had entered here and never left. That's when the truth hit me like a punch. I wasn't the first James Braga to come here, not the second, not even the 100th. Each version of me had been captured, recorded, and stored in this alien archive. Every team member I thought I'd lost in the initial attack. They were there too, each in their own capsule, trapped in a cycle of stolen lives, repeating endlessly. A brief message flashed on the screen, adapting to my language. Analysis in progress, process ongoing, objective, preservation of human intelligence. The moment that message appeared, something in my mind started to unravel. Memories I knew weren't mine began blending with my own. Images of lives I'd never lived, yet that somehow felt familiar. It was as if the pyramid was trying to merge every version of me into one, a database of everything I had been, or what they thought I was. As I struggled to understand, I felt a cold, heavy hand on my shoulder. I turned slowly, knowing I wouldn't find a friendly face. And there he was, me, or an older, more worn version of myself, face lined with scars, eyes hollow of any trace of humanity. He smiled, a weary, bitter smile, and said only one thing before pulling me into the darkness. "Welcome to the cycle."